Welcome to the New York Sunworks Youth Conference.
Thank you so much for joining us for our 11th annual New York Sunworks Discovering Sustainability Science Youth Conference. My name is Becky Higgins, and I'm on the education team here at New York Sunworks. I am so lucky to get to work with our amazing greenhouse classroom teachers and students throughout the school year. These teachers and students inspire me and so many others with their innovative investigations, design solutions, and advocacy projects about science and sustainability. We are so excited to celebrate their hard work through this year's youth conference and the hard work of all of our farmer scientists. We want to thank our sponsors, the New York Power Authority, Con Edison, and Groden, for their continued support of our conference and of the New York Sunworks programs.
Hi, my name is Diami, and I'm a member of the Greenhouse Support Team. I visit our New York Sunworks partner schools to help maintain your hydroponic systems and the health of your plants. We are here today to celebrate the wonderful work of our farmer scientists and teachers who innovate for a sustainable future. We are thankful for the hard work and contributions by students at our partner schools, including those presenting at this year's conference. Today, we have student presenters from the following New York Sunworks partner schools: P721K, Brooklyn Occupational Training Center; PS219, Kennedy King Elementary; Edward R. Murrow High School; I Am High School; St. Saviour High School; PS333, the Manhattan School for Children; Rachel Carson High School for Coastal Studies; PS84, Jose de Diego; 75 Morton; West End Secondary School; MS890, and PSK004. We're so happy to have you. We're really excited to see your presentations. Have a great day.
First up, we'll learn about the many ways that students have been studying plant growth and development. Students have been running investigations to study the effects of nutrient availability, light, and acidity on plant growth. Students also studied how materials used by us humans, such as olive oil and mosquito repellent, impact the growth and viability of a variety of plants. Let's welcome our first student speakers.
Good day, everyone. My name is Samaina Dalva, and I am a 5th grade student at PS219, Kennedy King Elementary School. My hydroponic science teacher is Mr. Jacobs. Well, what can I truly say about hydroponic science? Amazing! My title today is, Can plants in our greenhouse classroom grow without nutrients? In my world of science, in previous grades, I never thought that there was so much more about plants than just knowing the parts. Plants are the only living things that can make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. So amazing is Mother Nature. However, though plants can make their own food, they require much care. I found this out doing an experiment. My question was, can plants really grow and thrive given only water? My hypothesis was yes. Can you believe it? I was certainly wrong. Just like us, plants need nutrients to survive. I grew 2 cucumber plants and deprived one of nutrients. After 5 days, I noticed the leaves beginning to grow yellow. This was caused by a reduced production of chlorophyll, a pigment needed for photosynthesis. Nutrient deficiency can have a significant impact on plant growth and quality, and the eventual death of the plant tissue. So, of course, I began adding nutrients. I could not bear seeing the plant starving. And here is my plant today, growing and thriving. Soon I will have tasty cucumbers for my salad. My hypothesis is wrong. Plants need nutrients to survive as well as water, air, light, space, and proper nutrients. Thank you for listening. Bye.
afternoon. My name is Ronnie Solon from IM High School. What if I told you that each plant location in the hydroponic system was unique, that your plants can grow better depending on where you placed it in the NFT? Each plant location in every channel receives a unique amount of light in the form of photosynthetic active radiation, otherwise known as PAR. With this knowledge, you can select where you position your plants to match how much growing light or PAR your plant prefers. Now, why is this important?
My name is Joelle Stewart, and I'm a student at IM High School. And here we designed an experiment to show the difference in growth at each plant location in the hydroponic system. We planted basil in every location at the NFT at the same time. We tested the nutrients and pH in all the plant locations. Every location received the same nutrients and pH. The only difference was the amount of growing light or PAR, which we measured with the PAR meter. The result is that the basil grows significantly faster at high PAR rates than locations at low PAR rates. Let's say you want to make salsa from seed to table. You have to start planting some of your ingredients. First, you plant tomatoes, cilantro, and culantro in your hydroponic garden. Since tomatoes and cilantro prefers a lot of growing light exposure, you can place them in high PAR locations shown in red in Keynote 3. On the other hand, culantro prefers less growing light and can be placed in channel 1 locations shown in green.
Hello, my name is Kaden and I attend IM High School. The next time you move your seedlings to the NFT, make sure you choose the best location to give your plants the PAR they need. Some locations provide up to 3 times the amount of PAR. As the plants grow closer to the light. PAR generally increases over time as the plants grow, but in some positions have the opposite effect. Best practice is to map your own system and find locations that are ideal for the plants in your lab.
And this is the result of our experiment 1 week later. As you look at this plant in a spot that has a radiation of 130, compared to this plant that has a radiation of 350, you can already see the huge significant difference in height. Now this plant that's sitting in the 130, it is 7 centimeters tall, while this one sitting in the 350 is 30 centimeters tall.
Hello, my name is Jola Lacona, and the experiment conducted was the effects of tilapia diet on plant growth. There's an enduring issue of scarcity, especially in terms of food. Feeding overpopulated areas animal meat can lead to extinction and unstable ecosystems. Therefore, vegetarian diets are suggested to improve not only environments, but health as well. 2 types of diets were tested in a hydroponic system, a common all-protein diet versus a vegetarian algae diet. A plant grown in pure water was used as a control for this experiment. Results showed that over the course of 2 weeks, the control, which started at 2 inches, grew 1.5 inches. The meat-based diet plant, which started at 2.5 inches, grew by 2.2 inches. And the algae diet plant, which started at 2 inches, grew by 2 inches, showing that the vegetarian diet was the only one that doubled in height in a short period of time. An error possibly present in this experiment was the use of only 1 tilapia in a small tank for the algae diet and 15 tilapias in a large tank for the meat diet. This could have affected the validity of our gathered data. To conclude, this experiment supported the hypothesis that if a vegetarian diet were given to a tilapia over a protein diet in a hydroponic system, then the plant would double in size and grow faster. The results showed that water and the meat diet work just as fine in producing healthy plants, but a vegetarian diet is effective in growing plants rapidly. Instead of killing fish to feed the fish, a plant alternative can be given to reduce waste.
Hi, my name is Kayan Grogan. I attend St. Saviour High School, and I presented the topic of olive oil and black-eyed peas, friend or foe. The first question is, who is olive oil? Olive oil is native to Asia Minor, which spread then from Syria and then to Greece. It has many beneficial properties, such as antioxidants, anti-inflammatory properties, and it protects against heart disease. It's also found in many products, such as moisturizers, soaps, and is used for cooking. Then who is black-eyed peas? Black-eyed peas is native to Africa and is grown in hot climates with an abundance of water. It's very vitamin-rich, containing calcium, iron, and vitamin A. Part of the legume family, which has peanuts, green peas, and lima beans, and is common in most households. So what does my experiment do? In group 1, which is the control group, there will be no oil added to the plants. But in group 2, there will be 5 milliliters, group 3 will have 10, group 4 will have 15, and group 5 will have 20. I hypothesized that at the end of the experiment, the plant that receives 50 milliliters of oil or more will not grow. It can be seen in my experimental progress that on day 1, the beans were very small and little to no progress was made. However, by day 18, they are very luscious, bright, and green in all groups despite oil being added. However, we take a closer look, looking at the average plant trial from the pre-oil, you can see that they are all increasing. Since this was before the oil was added, all of the slopes are making great progression, and they are very steep. Each color represents a different group, and group 1 has the lowest amount, while group 5 has the tallest amount. However, by the post-oil experiment, you can see that the slope is now more shallow, and group 1 now is the steepest and is the tallest of all the plants, while group 5 is the shortest of all the plants. So what does this mean? This means as more oil is added, the growth rate will begin to decrease, which means that as more oil is added to the experiment to the plants, the rate at which the plants begin to grow will decrease. It will not limit the growth completely as I had first hypothesized, but it will slow it down. This is just meant to be a mini replica of our world today. This was just olive oil, but imagine it was motor oil or an oil spill. Overall, it's hurting our planet and it's hurting our world. I hope this experiment spreads awareness and helps promote progress for a better future for not only us, but our planet. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Izzy.
I'm Tessa.
I'm Carolina.
And I'm Elin. And this is our science fair project.
Our problem that we were studying was increased ocean acidity, which is caused by carbon dioxide that rises into the atmosphere. The ocean absorbs it, and the ocean becomes more acidic. Increased ocean acidity in the ocean will cause coral to wither and die, which will destroy many sea animals' homes. It may also harm plants living near the water's edge.
Our question: how does increased ocean acidity or lemon juice affect plants?
Our hypothesis was if we gave all the plants different amounts of lemon juice, then the two with the most lemon juice would be shorter and browner because increased acidity in the water given to a plant tends to make most plants wither. We also hypothesized that the medium lemon might not do well either. We also think that maybe the little lemon will not do as well as the control.
We add a different amount of lemon juice to kale plants to see how they're affected. The controlled variables are the type of plant, kale, how we measured it, a roller, the conditions such as water, 1 liter, temperature, and sunlight. The independent variable is the amount of lemon juice. The dependent variable is the plant height and color.
The materials that we used were 8 kale plants, undiluted lemon juice with no water in it, water, a roller, a dropper, a liter, or you can use a milliliter vial, and we had 4 containers for the plants, 1 labeled control, another labeled little lemon, another labeled medium lemon, and the 4th labeled lots of lemon. We also used graph paper and a pencil to graph our information.
We put specific amounts of lemon juice into each plant and observed. We set up the experiment on Thursday, then we graphed it. We had to repeat this experiment 3 times. Then, on Tuesday, we reapplied the same amount of water and lemon juice. A week from the day that we set up the experiment, we measured and graphed the plants again.
We measured the height of the plants before and after the lemon juice was applied.
This is a photo of the control after the experiment.
This is a photo of the little lemon after the experiment. This is a photo of the medium lemon after the experiment.
And this was a photo of lots of lemon after the experiment.
The conclusions that we found was that the little lemon, which had 5 drops, did the best out of all the other plants. The lots of lemon, which had 30 drops, and the medium lemon, which had 15 drops, completely died. They wilted, turned yellow, and grew shorter. The control, with 0 drops, did all right. It was a little shorter and had a few yellow leaves. We think this means that kale plants do well with a bit of acid. Therefore, our hypothesis was correct and incorrect. We hypothesized that the lots of lemon would not do well, and we were correct. We were also correct that the medium lemon might not do very well, but we were wrong when we hypothesized that the control would do better than the little lemon. The
The little lemon did better than the control, but the control did better than lots of lemon and medium.
Thanks for listening.
Hi, my name is Olivia and I am a junior at St. Saviour High School. This year I researched the effect of mosquito repellent on basil. Mosquito repellent is used to protect humans from mosquitoes. I used off botanicals for this experiment, so the active ingredient was PMD. It has been proven that it could negatively affect plant growth, and so that was what I decided to research. Mosquito repellent gets into contact with plants when humans will spray it outside to protect themselves from the mosquitoes. The aerosol particles will then travel onto the plants and be absorbed by the leaves, which will then affect animals who eat said plants. Basil grows well in both hydroponics and soil systems. For this experiment, I decided to use soil so that it would readily absorb the repellent. So for my experiment, I added mosquito repellent in a solution with water to the soil to see if it affected basil growth. Each trial lasted for 3 weeks, and the spray was administered as soon as I planted the seeds. For my data, I found that only the control group with no mosquito repellent grew. Each group that had even a little bit of mosquito repellent added to it did not grow, which proved that the mosquito repellent stunted the basil germination. I expected the plants with repellent to grow eventually, but unfortunately that did not happen. So when the mosquito repellent was added to the plants, it stunted their growth and germination. For future studies, I might want to try to grow it hydroponically and see how the PMD in the water would react with the plant growth, or I could start with fully grown plants to see how it would affect already grown plants instead of just the seeds. Thank you so much for your time.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nadia Durant, and I am a 5th grade student at PSC 19 Kennedy King Elementary School. My title today is, Can the lettuce plant grow without light for a long period? I could not come up with a definitive hypothesis, so I said maybe. I placed 2 Solanova lettuce seeds in the growing substrates. I used rock wool, and in 5 days the seedlings appeared. They were placed in the seedling station with other plants. I allowed them to grow another 5 to 6 days before covering one plant with a milk carton. With much anxiety, I waited for the conclusion. After another 5 days, I removed the milk carton. It was not pleasing at all to me. In the course of time, unable to find light, the poor plant bent and looked very droopy. The leaves were looking pale. I finally had a definitive conclusion. Plants need sunlight or the right kind and amount of electric light in order to make chlorophyll. If plants do not get the right kind and amount of light, they cannot produce chlorophyll, and they will lose their green and eventually die. I was more than happy to make the necessary adjustments to my little plant. I made sure it got the right amount of light and watched it every day until it became healthy. It has been thriving beautifully. The plant was transferred to the nutrient film technique or NFT system a little over 2 weeks ago. Soon it will become healthy vegetables for someone like me.
Hi, I'm Ariel, and I'm a member of the Greenhouse Support Team. It was so great hearing from our first 3 presenters. Now, I'm excited to introduce to you the first of our guest speakers, Kedar Rahman. He is currently the Director of Corporate Strategy at the New York Power Authority. He supports NYPA's Vision 2030 strategic plan for a reliable and cleaner electric grid for all New Yorkers. Kedar is an electric engineer. He was also the Director of Digital Transformation, Program Manager of Digital Workforce, and a first-line supervisor. He holds a BS in Electrical and Computer Engineering from Norwich University, as well as an MS in Electrical Engineering from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Welcome, Kedar.
Welcome, students, teachers, and all of our support staff. Thank you all for this wonderful opportunity to address our next generation of sustainability leaders. My name is Kedar Rahman, and I am the Director of Corporate Strategy at the New York Power Authority, or as we call it, NYPA. NYPA is the largest state-owned electric utility, and over 80% of our power comes from clean hydroelectric plants located in upstate New York. We also serve as the backbone for the electric grid in New York, transmitting power from upstate New York to downstate New York. We have so much to be proud of here in New York. In addition to the natural beauty of New York State, we also have something special, our ability to bring ideas to life. Whether it may be an idea to run a hydroponic farm in an urban classroom, or something different. Maybe it's an idea to harness something invisible, a force of nature, and turn it into something really valuable and economical. Yes, I am talking about electricity. Around 1830, Joseph Henry pioneered two amazing inventions. One was the telegraph, and the second was the electric motor, which was a machine that could put electricity to work. A few decades later, in 1882, commercial power was first generated in Lower Manhattan by the Edison Electric Company. Today, we look at electrification as not only a marker of economic growth, but also a hope for the future in terms of decarbonization opportunities. The electric sector and the power generation sector in particular has led the fight against climate change, and this will only be bolstered by not only new technologies, but also public and private investment. Decreasing costs for renewables, a growing appetite for electrification, and an increase in the use of electricity for end use, for example, electric vehicles or electric motors, are three major drivers as we move and charge towards the future. Here in New York, the grid is also going through major changes. We are looking to bring in offshore wind generation, complement that with transmission lines to connect power supply and power demand, and support renewable sources of energy with energy storage. As you can tell, I could talk about this for days, but let me bring you all back to where it started. I grew up in Muscat, Oman, which is on the other side of the world. It is a city that sits on the Arabian Sea. Oman has an arid climate and is very different to New York. It is a desert by a classic definition. During my formative years in school, I went on many field trips where I could see the traditional fallage system used by Omani farmers to cultivate crops in what is a very difficult climate. This technology and engineering marvel has stood the test of time. Seeing these fallage systems in action made me believe that with intention, anything is possible. Through my childhood, I was also inspired by my parents. My mother recently retired after many decades teaching math. Often during mealtimes, she would remind me of her own childhood growing up in India, where food security was a major concern. And she would describe stories of rationing food so the entire family could eat. My father was an engineer, and he taught me to be curious and to question things, and he inculcated in me a love for traveling. One of his favorite quotes was, "When there's a will, there's a way." I was inspired by my parents to continue my education with dedication, passion, and intention. I was fortunate to be accepted on a full scholarship to Norwich University in Northfield, Vermont, where I studied electrical and computer engineering. one of my favorite challenges at Norwich was my senior capstone engineering project, where I explored the maintenance of solar panels and the ability to improve their efficiency with maintenance cycles. The smart grid was a big buzzword at that time and had me very curious in terms of what the future could look like. I was accepted to Rensselaer Polytechnic, or RPI, in Troy, New York, where I pursued my master's in electrical engineering with a focus on power systems. During my college days, I was fortunate to meet many great thinkers and minds alike, but none more so than my beloved wife, Maya Raman. Together, we've been blessed with a young child, Kanai, who will be 4 in September, and he is our inspiration for the future. Maya and I always look to share our love for nature and the beautiful outdoors with Kanai. And I think it's catching on. On hot summer days, he'll remind us, hey, it's time to water the plants. NYPA recruited me at a career fair right out of RPI for a role as an engineer at our Blenheim-Gilboa hydroelectric facility, which is one of the largest batteries on the New York State grid. Since then, I have held several roles with increasing responsibility, culminating in my current role as the Director of Corporate Strategy at NYPA. Our Vision 2030 strategy calls out our vision for New York, a thriving, resilient New York powered by clean energy. We are inspired by leaders such as yourselves, your parents, and your teachers to build a powerful and resilient future for New York, where everyone contributes and everyone belongs. We have spoken about how we should be intentional with our thoughts, our words, and our actions. Whatever the challenge may be in front of you, put your best foot forward. It is easy to go with the flow or go through the motions, but every challenge is an opportunity, your opportunity. With that, I would like to wish all of our leaders the very best and much success.
I'm Melissa. I'm a member of the Greenhouse Support Team. I help keep the hydroponic systems running in your greenhouse classrooms. Wow, these presentations are so inspiring. Let's keep watching and learning from our scientists, farmers, and special guests.
Up next, we'll learn about the many ways that students are taking action to have a positive impact on the environment in their schools and broader communities. From studying the harmful effects of microplastics, marine oil, and pollution on the environment, to running their own organic farm stands, to innovating renewable energy designs, students are exploring solutions to create a more sustainable world. Let's welcome the next group of student presenters.
I'm Zaire, and this is my partner Nyla, and this is our science fair project.
We wanted to test the different water brands and the way they affect a kale plant's growth. The water brands we used was Essential Water, Poland Spring, Sparkling Water, and Tap Water. All these different water brands have different pH levels.
Our hypothesis is we both believe that essential water will have the biggest impact on plant growth. We believe this because plants normally need or use water with enough pH level. pH is a measure of how acidic/base water is. The range goes from 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral. pH of less than 7 indicate acidity. Where a pH of greater than 7 indicates the water being basic, the pH of water is very important measurements concerning water quality. The average kale plant needs 6.0 to 7.5 pH, but essential water has a pH of 9.4. And too much of the water can affect the way a plant grows, and it could affect the way the plant grows by size, taste, color, or it could even kill the plant with too much nutrients.
Our investigation question is, do specific water brands affect the way a kale plant grows? We chose this project because we were in Mr. Six's Urban Ecology Spark. This is meaningful because we care about plants and our environment, and we want to make sure all plants are safe when it comes to watering.
Okay, the materials we use is multiple bottles of essential water, multiple bottles of Poland Spring water, multiple bottles of seltzer water, and 200 milliliters of faucet water every other week. We use 16 kale seeds, 16 rock wool, and 14 artificial lights.
So our experimental procedures, first we put the kale plants, the kale seeds inside the rock wool, which is in different containers. Step 2, after putting the seeds inside the rock wool, we get our 4 different waters that are room temperature and apply 200 millimeters of water to each seed every week. Step 3, after applying water to the seeds, move the rock wool under artificial light to allow the seeds to have a proper growth. Step 4, weekly we'll be checking on the plant and making sure that the plant has sunlight and applying the proper water to the plant. Step 5, we water the plant 1 day of the week for 2 weeks. Step 6, repeat 1 through 5 for the second trial. And step 7, every week check the height of each plant. And this is me and Zair's data. And this is our graph. So faucet water, we realized that it grew the most and it had more seeds. Well, it didn't actually grow that much, but it had more seeds by May 3rd. But Poland Spring also grew a lot, but faucet water has the better results. Essentia, apparently the plant died, so we didn't get any results from that.
Our possible variables that could have affected the way the plant grows is water evaporated at different rates due to the artificial light. Another variable is a spring break that we had. It could have stopped how we watered the plant. And halfway through the experiment, we covered the plants with plastic domes, which could affect the way a plant grows also. And another one is plastic trays. The plastic trays that we used, that we put the rock wool in, might have not been clean enough.
In conclusion, the essential water had the biggest effect on the kale plant because it killed the plant, which leaves our hypothesis correct. However, the other plants were able to grow healthier with the other types of waters. Tap water ended up growing with the most plants, 13 out of 14.
And that's it for our project.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sienna Mastroviti. I am a junior from St. Saviour High School. Today I will speak about the effects of marine oil on Java ferns. Oil spills are a major problem throughout the world. There are millions of gallons of oil spilled every year, polluting the water with harmful and deadly chemicals. One of the most commonly used brands of oil is Quicksilver 4-stroke marine engine oil. It is very difficult for this oil to be removed naturally from bodies of water. This is because of its chemical composition. It contains harmful chemicals including petroleum and mercury. It also does not dissolve in water and has a high viscosity. Java ferns, scientifically known as Microsorm pteropus, are semi-aquatic plants that are found in southeastern Asia. They are epiphytic plants, which means they grow on other plants and materials including tree trunks and rocks. There are 3 main components of the Java fern: the leaves, roots, and stems. The leaves are normally long and narrow. The roots attach themselves to other surfaces so that the plant can live and grow. The stem, known as the rhizome, acts like roots and collects water and nutrients the plant needs to grow. The Java fern is also a common aquarium plant because it is easy to maintain. In my experiment, there are 5 hydroponic systems with Java ferns in each. Each group received the same amount of water, sunlight, and hydrogen clay pellets. This experiment was set up in my school hydroponics lab. The amount of marine oil added to each container increased from 0 milliliters to 20 milliliters. I predicted that the greatest amount of marine oil would cause the greatest amount of decay. Let's see what happened. As a result, Group 1 showed little to no signs of decay. The plants remained healthy throughout the experiment. The plants in Group 2 were minutely impacted by the 5 milliliters of motor oil. The Java ferns in Group 3 and 4 experienced a great amount of damage from the motor oil. Finally, Group 5 experienced the most decay. Here are some pictures from the experiment. On day 1, all plants looked healthy and no oil was added yet. In the middle of the experiment, on day 14, there were signs of decay in groups 3, 4, and 5. As you can see in the pictures, the leaves have some discoloration and some even began to shrivel. On the final day of the experiment, you could see the most of the leaves in group 5 turned dark brown and wilted. The graph represents the change in plant height of each group. There was an increase in the plant height in group 1, showing the growth of the Java ferns. As the group number increased, the Java fern height decreased. This is due to the increased amount of motor oil added to each. Group 5 showed the greatest change in plant height. 20 milliliters of motor oil caused the leaves to wilt and decay. In conclusion, my hypothesis was proven correct. The Java ferns in Group 5 with the most oil added decayed the most in the experiment. As we can see, oil can cause a great amount of damage to plant life and growth rates. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.
The Leap Green Energy Machine by Jack, James, and Frank. For our topic this science fair, we decided to test what would charge a phone fastest: a solar panel, a battery pack, or a wall socket. Our hypothesis was that the solar panel would have the fastest charge over all three of them, because a solar panel can charge about a house and a factory, so charging a phone should be pretty simple. The materials that we used for our project were my phone, the charger, the USB-C charger, Jack's battery pack, and the wall sockets in the science classroom. Some of the background info would be like the wattage of the solar panel was like 18 watts, and the charger was just a basic USB-C charger. And our data table, which you can see behind us, shows the wall socket and the battery pack blew the solar panel out of the water. The solar panel didn't charge the phone in any percent over the 3-minute trials, and it just didn't work, probably because of scaling. In conclusion, we discovered that our hypothesis was dead wrong. We thought the solar panel would work the best. It worked the worst. It was charging the phone, but in the 3 minutes, it just couldn't get 1%, and it just didn't work really well. This is probably because of just the size of the solar panel. It was a really tiny solar panel, and it wasn't designed for things of its size to do what we needed it to do, unlike the wall socket and battery pack, which were.
Hi there, my name is Emily Landis. I'm in the 10th grade and I attend Edward R. Murrow High School, and I did my project on the effectiveness of different types of absorbents on oil collection. Our oceans are really important ecosystems. We see all the time in the news how entire ecosystems and coral systems and wildlife systems within the oceans are being wiped out because of pollution. And one of these types of pollution is oil spills, which cause serious long-term damage to the environment and cost oil companies millions upon millions of dollars. Using natural resources is incredibly important to avoid further damage to the environment, and they are more cost-effective. I tested rock wool, peat moss, and wool. They're all renewable and sustainable materials that are easily accessible, and they were all tested for oil absorbency. I tested 2 different types of oil, motor oil and cooking oil. I hypothesized that rock wool is suspected to have the best absorbency rate, since wool and peat moss are both semi-hydrophobic. So peat moss is a soil-like consistency. It's made of decomposed plants. Raw sheep's wool is just shearing scraps that have come off the sheep. And rock wool is made of spun basalt rock fibers and is commonly used for hydroponics. First, I measured all the materials to get them around the same weight, and then I put on the nylon casing. The nylon casing was used to contain the peat moss, and since it isn't really containable. Next, I left the materials in a bin of saltwater solution and 10 milliliters of oil for 5 minutes. This was repeated 3 times for each material, each oil, and then the nylon casing separately. These are 3 photos of me conducting my experiment. The results were that rock wool absorbed astoundingly more than the rest of the materials. I think this is probably because when rock wool is used for gardening, its main purpose is to maintain and contain the water that it's just been given. Yeah, overall, rock wool did the best on average, which agrees with my hypothesis. Some challenges I faced were the nylon casings and a bad scale. To expand for the research, I think that different types of oil and absorbent should be used, as well as how to clean up oil that's been on land should be looked into. These are my sources. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Hello, I'm Sheldon. I'm Kayla.
I'm Idan.
We are students from the Rachel Carson agricultural class. Over the past school year, we have learned how to grow plants hydroponically, and our hard work has paid off through our farmers market. Some of the plants we have grown are basil, lettuce,
and some dill and chili peppers.
Last month, we were able to share what we had grown at our first ever farmers market, and we gained experience from selling to students. We learned that fresh produce can help bring a community together, as well as showing students that fresh and nutritious food is just as good.
We learned valuable lessons in teamwork as well as entrepreneurship skills along the way and made memories to last a lifetime. Some of our biggest challenges were compromising and coming to an agreement on things like logos and branding. Promoting our products to the right audience. In the future, we would like to learn more about advertising and creating other exciting products.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katerina Cerrone. I attend St. Saviour High School, and I will be doing a presentation on a New York City water survey. A little fun fact, clean and healthy water beats a clean and healthy environment. Water is the basis for almost every life form on our planet. Plants rely on water, animals rely on water, we rely on water. And if the water isn't clean and healthy, then our environment cannot survive. So that is why I am doing this presentation today, to see if the water in New York City is suitable for a sustainable environment. So what makes water healthy? High dissolved oxygen levels. Oxygen is the most important substance in our water. Oxygen is in our air, we breathe it. If we do not have oxygen in our bodies, then we cannot respirate properly. Same thing for plants and animals. Low turbidity. Turbidity is basically the clarity of water. So high turbidity means unclear water, and low turbidity means pretty clear water. And then basic pH, a pH ranging from 6 to 8, most preferably 7. Moderate levels of phosphate and nitrate. Once again, they are very important aspects of our water. So if they are at moderate levels, then our water is healthy. Low quantities of metal. If we intake too much metal, then we could perhaps suffer from that. And then low electrical conductivity or normal levels in salt water. Low electrical conductivity is preferred for fresh water. So significant water sources that I tested were the Marine Park Salt Marsh, Plum Beach or Jamaica Bay, and the Prospect Park Lake. So the materials that I used were pH strips to measure the pH, water testing strips to test for metals, hardness, and nitrate, and then an electrical conductivity meter to measure the electrical conductivity. So what were my results? At Plum Beach, the lead quantities were above healthy levels. They were at a level of 15, and lead is preferably to be in a range of 0 to 10, while 15 might be too much for people to handle. And the salt levels did reach high, but since Jamaica Bay is saltwater, the levels were expected. The same thing for Marine Park Salt Marsh. And at the Marine Park Salt Marsh, copper was slightly all over the place. They varied in levels. 2 samples had high amounts of lead, but the rest were normal. So what are the results? Water in New York is suitable for a good environment, but it could be improved. Thank you and have a good day.
My name is Julia, and I'm on the education team here at New York Sunworks. It is such a pleasure working with our greenhouse classroom teachers and students and hearing all of their inspiring work. Now, I'm excited to introduce to you the second of our guest speakers, Tania Pina. Tania is the founder and CEO of Renewable, a Brooklyn-based waste-to-resource organization that helps global agricultural communities use food waste for sustainable growing practices. She began her career in sustainability as a former student pursuing a Master's of Science degree at Columbia University prior to becoming the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Renewable. Tania has been awarded the American Express Emerging Innovator Award, the American Entrepreneurship Award, and the 2017 Innovator of the Year Award for her contributions to innovation in the field of science and sustainability. Tania received her Bachelor of Science in Business Information Technology from the Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University. Let's welcome Tania.
Hi, my name is Tania Pina, and I'm so grateful to be here with you at New York Sunworks Annual Youth Conference. It's so incredibly important today that you consider putting time, energy, and thoughts and your brilliant know-how to create innovation on what really is a time of immense need for your brains and your skills. We are at a time where we're experiencing severe food shortages, food crisis, and resources needed to have resilient, consistent food production. And I'm really excited to share with you how Renewable's approach can help continue supporting a very thriving U.S. food production. And so you being a part of that and listening to that, I really hope that, I inspire you to consider being involved, taking all the insights and the skill sets that you've learned so incredibly closely with the New York Sunworks team this year, and really putting that into action, whether it's after this school year, at home, growing herbs and greens and tomatoes of your own, or in the future, perhaps joining the industry for what is known as indoor agriculture, also as controlled environment agriculture. So at Renewable, I'm the founder and CEO of Renewable, and hi, my name is Tania Pina, if I haven't introduced myself already. We basically take unrecoverable vegetative waste from food production and food distribution, and we turn it into a platform of sustainable technologies for indoor growing. And the reason why that's so important is because in 2012, when I first got inspired to do what we're doing at Renewable, New York City was spending $77 million to ship our food waste, because we don't have the scale of composting in our city. We were shipping it to Pennsylvania, China, and even Virginia at the time. We now spend roughly a little less than $186 million. So that's the food waste coming from our kitchen scraps, and that's the food waste coming from, our local favorite restaurant. And so if you can imagine, a lot of the food waste, whether it's from our own kitchens, restaurants, as well as Hunts Point, which is in South Bronx, this food waste is creating a lot of emissions and greenhouse gases to ship it to outside of New York City, because we don't have the infrastructure to manage it. And what works really well, taking food waste and turning it into compost for our soil to be able to grow regenerative agriculture methods, using regenerative agriculture methods, or because the soil has a very diverse ecosystem of microbes that know how to break down the nutrients into food that the plant can recognize and eat. But in a soilless or hydroponic system, such as you see here, that's unfortunately not the case. These systems have a need for sterility. They have a need to be clean so that they can be able to provide nutrients in a way that isn't going to cause things that you learned in class, your pH to go too high, your water quality to have, algae buildup or biofilm buildup. So it's incredibly hard to make food waste compatible to grow food in an indoor hydroponic or soilless system in a similar way as you would see in an outdoor farm or field farm shown here in this picture. But in globally, and I apologize for this picture, livestock and in the larger global agriculture industry produces 30% of our greenhouse gas emissions. That's a significant amount. Now, in terms of the livestock, so breeding and raising cows and chickens, things that are often meat options on our kitchen dinner tables, that creates 14.5 greenhouse gas emissions. And what we use as fertilizer in a hydroponic or soilless system contributes 3% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So it's incredibly important that we try to find ways to use alternatives to mineral salts, because the supply chain, the way that, the salts that you may have seen in your classrooms or just may have seen elsewhere, and most of us buy mineral salts because that's what's often available at our nearby store to feed our plants as their source of food. But the way that they're produced requires a tremendous amount of energy and burning of fossil fuels in places as far as the Middle East as far as Russia and China to be able to support our food production today. And so as you can imagine, the mineral salts that you see here, or the small packets of salts that come with your favorite bouquet of flowers that someone dear to you may have given, they create a tremendous amount of greenhouse gases. But like I said, remember the soil, the field farms, they use things, fertilizers, or what is called amendments, right? They use these fertilizers from bat guano, which is bat poop or feces, as from animals that you see here. Or they use chicken litter, right? They've been pelletized granules, basically sediment from the waste streams of raising chickens to serve as a great fertilizer for soil. And it's incredibly hard for soilless or hydroponic systems to use. Similarly, using fish waste, a great fertilizer for soil because it can be used with your diluted in water or mixed with your water. And the soil microbes know how to really take fish fertilizer, which are just the waste streams from fish, and turn it into a source of plant food that really enriches the soil. So this is an example of those types of organic fertilizers that tend to be used phenomenally well in soil. And so they support the early seedling needs, the germination, all the way from when you may have sprouted your first seed in your classroom with New York Sunworks to your final harvest, cutting that head of lettuce or taking off some strawberries that you may have grown. Those sources of fertilizers that I just mentioned serve all the main macronutrient needs of a farm or your garden at home or in your classroom. They provide a source of your basic nutrients, such as nitrogen, which provides that early sprout vegetative growth. It also provides phosphorus, which provides your blooming, the flowering that you need when you start getting into, after the sprouting, your fruiting stage or your flowering stage. And you would have seen that with your peppers, your strawberries, your tomatoes. It also provides potassium, and potassium is a great way to add more flavor. It's a great way to incorporate minerals and micronutrients because it can ensure that they're uptaken by the plant more easily. So all of these serve a really unique role in how we grow food. And so how we at Renewable take the food waste and make those three macronutrients and minerals and micronutrients plant available, or what they call soluble, is incredibly hard because it's balancing, taking different food waste type that you all are familiar with, a banana peel, leafy lettuce remains, carrot cuttings, and making it so that once you introduce it into a hydroponic system that you may have worked with, it doesn't create poor water quality like biofilm, and it doesn't really change your pH as much. So this is an example of a farm using our nutrients in Rockwell, and you may be familiar here. It's an older picture, but basically, our goal is to essentially take food waste and make it so that in areas beyond New York City, we can take our waste streams, treat them in such a way that is food safe, and it can be consistent with our alternatives, such as mineral salts that aren't as good for the environment to produce, and allow more people like you, as well as our commercial farms that are working hard every day to ensure that we have food at our grocery stores and on our table to be able to nourish us. It's really important that you consider, and you consider, being a part of this movement to help our farms and help give society more options than just mineral salts, and to use our waste streams in more innovative ways. Renewable focuses on food waste, but there's really interesting innovations happening with fabric waste or textile waste, or even wastewater coming from, vineyards. So if I didn't do a good job inspiring you, then I hope New York Sunworks did an amazing job, and I know they have, in really giving you practical skills that the industry can use from kids like yourself to help us make sure that we have enough food supply and a resilient supply chain just to be able to grow our food reliably. So thank you so much for everything that you've done to date. New York Sunworks has done an incredible job making sure that you are inspired to potentially become an indoor grower or part of this industry in the future. We do need people like you. And so hopefully we will see you more in the future. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Hi, everyone. I'm Asa from the New York Sunworks Finance team.
And I'm Eva from the New York Sunworks Greenhouse Support team.
The presentations today so far have been really impressive.
For this year's youth conference, we hosted a media contest to allow students in our partner schools to show off their skills. Big thank you to all of our farmer scientists who entered the contest. We had 21 total entries from 9 different schools.
Without further ado, let's announce our winners. Congratulations to MS 331, the Ball School of Young Leaders,
Sarah M. Gilmore Academy in Union, New Jersey, and the High School for Innovation in Advertising and Media.
Great job, everyone.
For our third group of student presenters, we will learn about innovations students designed for the future of farming. Students will share the creative hydroponic systems that they designed, built, and grew crops from, both in their classrooms and at home. Let's welcome our final group of student presenters.
Hi, my name is Emma Henderson. I'm from Case 84, and this is how to build a passive hydroponic system. So here's what you need. You need some water, a cut-up bottle, a 10.5 to 11-inch piece of rope, some clay pebbles, a nutrient capsule, and a plant with some visible roots. So you need a bottle that looks like this, that has 2 pieces. You put this to this, then take it, fill it with water. You add your nutrient capsule. You put that like that. So now you have to take your rope, take your plant, and then wrap your rope around the plant, just like that. Now you have to take your plant and make sure that your rope is like this, and put it into the neck of the ball, just like that. Then you take some of your clay pebbles and put them on here, like this, to prevent the rock wool from going out. Now you have your finished passive hydroponic system. Just place it in a window with lots of sunlight, and remember to check on it to add nutrients and water. Thanks for watching.
Hello, today we will be learning about the do's and don'ts of hydroponics. Let's start with the do's.
Make sure to check if the tubes are in the bottom box. Make sure it has support so they don't fall off. Make sure the plants are fully pushed down in the net cup so they get enough water.
Make sure to wash your hands before touching plants so you don't get any of the bacteria. And now for the don'ts.
Stop, you don't need that much mass to grow. You only need a little pinch.
Stop, you're adding too much water. You don't need that much.
You be perfectly careful of what happens if you add too much water. Nope, don't put the small net cups into your shallow bed. Use the large net cups instead.
Wait, no! You're supposed to add water before you...
Those are the do's and don'ts of hydroponics.
Bye!
I am Tashnia. I'm looking forward to work on my hydroponic kit.
I observed different kinds of seeds. I put my seeds in the rock bowl to grow.
I leave my seeds in the sun to grow. Look, my seeds are germinating. I designed my hydroponic system from recycled water bottles. My plants are still growing. I cannot wait to see what they will become. The end.
Hello, I'm Catherine here. I'm from the School of 75 Morton. My hydroponic system is made out of recycled materials that I was able to find around my STEM classroom. The materials I used were some net pots and a water bottle, popsicle sticks, tape, clay beads, rock wool, and my seedlings were Asian greens. Some changes I decided to make from my first model were that I decided not to 3D print my model. I did this because I realized that making it out of reclaimed materials was more sustainable for the environment. I also took away the LED lights in my original project. I had some artificial sunlight, but realized that my project would be growing by a window with a lot of sunlight and wouldn't need LEDs. After prototyping, I also found that because my model was round, I needed a way to stop it from falling over, so I added a more sustainable base. My final building process for my system was to first turn my water bottle on its side, then cut 2 holes face up that could hold a net pot. I taped popsicle sticks together and glued them to make a base. Lastly, I added rock wool, my seedlings, and some water. My system works by using sunlight from a window and having its water replenished every few weeks or so. And after 2 weeks, the plants are growing and I've only had to refill my system once. Thank you for your time.
We made a DIY hydroponic system using a plastic tub, rock wool, and net cups.
First, we cut the tip of a water bottle and took the cap off of it to hold the rock wool. Next, we put the tip of the water bottle in a mesh bag and put the cap back on to hold it in place. Then we filled the plastic tub with clay balls and put the mesh bag with the tip of the water bottle in the clay balls. Finally, we placed the rock wool in the tip of the water bottle and planted a seed in the rock wool.
This is our plant in the system.
We monitored our plant as it grew. Every few days we gave it fresh water and sometimes we added nutrients.
On March 15th, we put our plant into our DIY. This is the plant on March 17th and it's starting to sprout. This is the plant on March 25th.
This is our plant on April 24th, 2022. This is our plant April 4th, 2022. It's starting to rotate a bit. This is our plant April 11th, 2022. This is our plant on April 12th, and it was thriving.
Here's our plant on April 25th, and as you can see, it did not get enough water.
Since our leafy Asian greens dried up, we replanted some basil. Once the basil grows, we will be able to make different foods with it, including pesto.
Good day, everyone. My name is Acidity, and I am a 5th grade student at PS219 Canadian Elementary School. My topic today is I believe every school should have a greenhouse classroom. I currently believe that every school should have a greenhouse classroom. There are so many priceless educational benefits, which include we grow our own delicious fruit and veggies. We have access to a living greenhouse classroom the entire school year. We experience hands-on in the greenhouse classroom. We learn about life science, animal, and plants, and we learn about physical science, like the environment, solar system, electricity. My favorite part about coming to the hydroponic classroom is learning about everything. Learning in class helped me more aware of things happening global today, like climate change, global warming, and the way it affects plants. Also, learning about plant reaction to light, heat, and nutrient is fun, but educational. Anyway, I want to talk a little about what I do in class. Caring for plants is like caring for myself. On Wednesdays, I have to check the water levels and of each system, measuring the electrical conductivity and the pH level. If the electrical conductivity is below level, maximum growth is added. If the pH level are not normal, that will resorb or complete lockout. The amount of nutrient a plant can absorb water. Water is important to constantly moist the roots so the plants won't die. Finally, it is absolutely important to take care of our greenhouse garden. We are learning valuable lessons and skills in our hydroponic classroom. Bye!
This year, New York Sunworks received a record number of presentation submissions, and we would like to acknowledge the incredible amount of hard work these former scientists put into their projects and presentations. These students are research superstars and sustainability leaders. Their presentations will be available to view on the New York Sunworks website and YouTube channel after the conference. Thank you, former scientists, for your incredible work.
I'm Serena. I'm on the greenhouse support team. I want to thank all the wonderful farmer scientists, teachers, and guest speakers that made our 11th annual conference so incredible today. Also, many thanks to everyone watching. It was so inspiring to see everyone come together to learn and celebrate sustainability science. I hope you can all know the passion in your hearts, because together we can make this world a better and more sustainable place.
Hi, my name is Jasmine, and on behalf of all of us on the New York Sunworks team, we feel so lucky to be able to work with incredible teachers and students in our greenhouse classrooms every week. And we are very proud of all their hard work and dedication to sustainability and science.
Thank you for coming to this year's conference.